Now is your time to flange.
Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. I am your stand-in moderator today, Carol, also known as Coach K, standing in for our wonderful moderator, Brett, who couldn't make it today. But we got a fabulous show lined up for you. Before I jump into the show, let me just introduce some of my guys that are here with me today, starting with the intern, Jay Dace.
Starting off strong, you know. I'm just out here, trying to get it how I live, man. You know, I want them dead presidents. I want to pull up, get it spent.
I want some presidents to represent me.
Get money. Okay.
I got 6 jobs, I don't get tired.
Hey.
6 jobs and you don't get tired.
The question is, though, do you got 2 phones? How deep did I just mosey?
Wow. We got a couple people making their way back to the podcast this week. You guys know we're running on the light crew. Deacon Rue, bruh.
Rue, glad to be back. Good
to see you. Good to see you.
Yes, always.
Yeah, glad to be seen.
Good,
Working
man.
hard.
We see the cat did not get your microphone.
Not yet. Trying to keep it away.
Nice. What's the cat's name, man? We don't even talk about the cat's name.
Cat's name is Speedy.
Speedy.
So
Speedy the cat.
She is she belongs to my oldest daughter, but my youngest daughter is the one that has lured her away with cat treats.
Okay.
All types of tricks. Sit, roll over, stand up. It's pretty interesting.
Eat daddy's microphone.
No, like legit?
Nice.
Yeah, we gotta show that video one night. I ain't never seen the copy, bro.
Oh yeah,
Nice.
we can make her do some stuff on command. Stuff
Okay.
like not eat headphone strings.
Okay. Also back with us this week, Mr. Logistics, BJ.
Hey, what's going on, bro?
Good, man. What's going on? Where you at, man?
Hey, man, been running, trying to make life happen, brother. But all is well. It's good to be back, and we're gonna get this thing cracking. Let's roll.
All right. And of course, DJ Barry B. Fresh in the building, looking like Miami Santa Claus.
This that winter Miami feel, you know. I had to let them know. Kane Claus is still in the building. We still out here. We still represent the loss. Does not hurt a boss. We still come out on top. Please believe it. Yeah, man, let's get it. I'm excited about today's show. Let's have a good time.
Yeah,
we got special
man.
guests. Let's get it.
That's right. We got special guests. He might be the first guest to have
A double appearance. He is, yeah.
encore appearance. So absolutely welcome back, Pervis Taylor.
Yes.
What's up, everybody?
What's going on, Pervis? How you doing, man?
I'm good, brother. How are you guys doing?
Oh man, we are great, man. Super excited to have you back, man. Man, Pervis. So there's I saw that you are running. That you got nominated for. What was you got nominated for?
So it's an award or an awards organization that they have here in New York. It's called the Black Celebration Awards, and I was nominated by somebody in the empowerment category. And so they're having like this online voting thing up until the 30th of this month. So I'm imploring everybody to vote, like so much so that I like pulverize the competition. Like there's like a hefty gap,
We dominated.
like a 1,000 vote gap.
Oh, nice. So absolutely. And you know, everybody here on the 13th floor, we are definitely going to vote for you. As a matter of fact, I think we even pumped it out on our page today.
Yeah, we're calling all the fledged mates, everybody out there within sound shot of our voices. Make sure you go ahead and cast that vote. If you don't know how to cast a vote, come to our Facebook page. We have it up there. You can go ahead and cast that thing, and guess what? You can share it too. We're gonna let you do that for free.
Oh,
Right.
And I appreciate that, brother.
This is where Brett would say, "There it is." So there it is. So
easy.
Easy.
Hey, so Pervis, just in case some of our viewers and listeners didn't catch you on the first time, let's just remind the audience exactly what it is that you do.
Wow. I am an award-winning life coach, speaker, and author. I've written 2 books, co-authored 1 book. I work with celebrities, I work with executives, I work with youth, I work with everyday people in helping them to achieve greatness in their lives and to transform. And that's really what I'm about in a nutshell. And I'm an empowerment speaker. I don't like to say I'm a motivational speaker because I believe motivation is momentary, but empowerment and inspiration is a lifetime. So, yeah, that's me. And I have a master's in clinical psych from Columbia University. I went to undergrad at the U with you wonderful gentlemen. And yeah, man, just out here, just living in my purpose.
Nice. And that's great, man. And as I said, it's an honor to have you on the show.
It's an honor to be here.
Did you guys hear that? Award-winning life coach. So we didn't just bring some dude that just claims to be a life coach, because you can just claim to be one and you don't have to go get a certification or anything. But we got somebody with credentials behind them. That's
exactly.
What we do.
If y'all ain't noticed, that was the mic drop.
Put some respect on his name.
There it is.
Yeah, man. So we're gonna jump into this topic, and
let's get
as you know, we're doing a 4-part series. The first part was last week, so if you haven't had a chance to check out that podcast, definitely go view that one. The title of that one was wow.
Who are you?
Finding who you are. And we definitely dropped some gems last week, including finding that common thread that links the hints to who you are. So this week we're going to move into accepting who you are. We thought it was great to have Pervis on this week. So let's talk about, fellas, and anybody, not just Pervis, but when did you first know who you were, and how did you go about being comfortable with who you were?
Wow.
That's a great question, because I've been many different stages. I could say I'm still discovering, honestly.
Yeah.
Different stages of my life. It just came to certain events, certain situations made you step up and realize, okay, this is defining who I am right now. I'm defining who I am right now. But then as life kept going, it was another defining moment. So it's like I'm looking forward to everything that's going to keep on happening, man.
Right.
Yeah, to echo what BJ. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say to echo what BJ said. Like, you're constantly discovering who you are and accepting that person along the way. But for me, I would actually say when I was like 30, I really fully accepted who I was, and I know that's not that long ago. But it was a process and a journey to get to that place, and it was very painful. It was very arduous. It was very painstaking, and it was very like a lot of times you want to give up, because I think the hardest thing that we can do is face ourselves, and that's what I did. I unpacked a lot of stuff, and I got to a place where I started to like who I was in that process, and yeah, it was a definitely interesting journey. But I would say for me, 30, and okay. I'm still discovering.
Right. And I think you guys hit on something that was key, is that accepting who you are doesn't mean that you will always be in that same place for the rest of your life. It is going to continue to be a maturation of who you are, and you continue to embrace deeper levels of who you are as you go throughout life. And, speaking of embracing, so let's identify, like, what are some of the common obstacles that we face with accepting who we are?
Pride.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
man.
Definitely, man. Just
You jumped out there like Cool Runnings. Pride.
Hey, I'm a bat. Ain't gonna go that way anyway. But no, definitely pride. Thinking, like, believing that you have it all figured out when you know you don't. Well, when you don't, maybe you don't know you don't, but you don't want to face that you don't. When everybody's telling you that you don't. But I would say pride and ego. That would be two of the biggest hurdles, at least for me personally.
Okay.
Yeah, and also like not living up to who you thought that you were supposed to be. When life doesn't happen the way that you think it's supposed to be, or thinking material things are going to make you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
Like, it's so many. Yes, I mean, it's so many things like.
also
Peer pressure, the culture,
trying to live up to everybody else's expectations and not being able to understand you will live a further richer life if you're not, focused on pleasing other people, and you find out what it is that you're truly passionate about and what you truly like to do. You may not make a lot of, what everybody feels is a lot of money. However, you will live a fuller and richer life because you will actually enjoy your life and not feel that you're in, some horrible space.
Yeah. I think for me, this been, since going from the transition from Ohio to here and kind of from the job to working for yourself, I think the more time that you spend alone, the more you realize that you have work to do on yourself. So the outside telling you how great you are, how smart you are. You realize that there's a lot of things and a lot of time for you to work on your own development. And that's a different way to view yourself.
Yeah.
Part of that too is, realizing when you're complacent and you're stuck in a cycle, and that self-time that's what, when he just said that self-time, that put me back into a couple of times. I can remember specifically when I felt like I was just going through the motions every single day and not really living out to what I should be doing. And it wasn't outside influence. It was like, I'm stuck. And if I don't do this, I'm gonna get complacent, and this is gonna be my every single day, rest of my life, and that's not acceptable.
Well, I think one of the things that the wife and I were talking about this weekend is we were forced to move, so it wasn't like you anticipate this change coming on. And I think in that you don't realize what's better until you are forced to be in a situation that is better. So had someone asked us, 2 years ago, would we be living in Ohio? Of course. Would I still be working at a nonprofit? Yeah. But 2 years later, we're in New Jersey. I got the thing working together with you guys. Life is a whole lot better. And as you spend time, you're redeveloping yourself to figure out what changes do you need to make internally to keep up. And that's just the whole, that's the whole reality of it.
But also, to add on to what you're saying, I think underneath all of that is like the thing that a lot of people are missing, which is self-awareness. I think a lot of us are self-deluded, and like we don't want to see who we really are. We don't want to see the problems or the situations that are going on in our lives. And I think that the culture feeds that. And you know what I mean? So it's like we live in a time where everybody's delusional. Everybody's a narcissist.
Social media, everybody wants to, they are literally renting out private jets that do not fly so that you can go and take some Instagram pictures and videos or whatever to be able to post on social media and stuff.
That's crazy.
Right. And what does that do for you? And what does that do for you?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what does that do for the soul?
It's reinforcing a image that you want to project, right? And I think what we just hit on was when you accept who you are, that means not only do you accept your strengths, but you accept your faults as well.
It's embracing.
Yep,
it's
you got to
embracing.
embrace it. And a lot of people, they don't take the time to find that benchmark for who they are. Because if you can find that benchmark, now you can build on that foundation.
But I also think the challenge with that too is like people don't know where they stopped like being real. They don't know the point where they started to delude themselves. And I think that's the challenge. Is like, so it's like working with clients of mine. The challenge is like we have to go all the way back to the beginning.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? To the point where it's like, what's your earliest memory? Instead of just like,
on so many coats
because you put on so many layers. You put it, and it's like an onion. It's like you're constantly peeling layer by layer, and it's like that is the biggest challenge because it's like you have to unpack so much stuff before you can even get to acceptance.
Yeah, and we talked about that last week in discovering or defining who you are, of doing that homework to go back. You have to go back in order to start connecting the dots to figure out who you are and what that common thread was, as we talked about earlier in the intro. And that's a great point. And I think it takes a certain level of courage to do that. And you have to want to not only reveal yourself to yourself, but you have to now expose yourself to others because, and we'll get into this next week in presenting who you are, but you have to be prepared for whatever that critique is going to be. And I think once you come to terms with that, what that fault is, you now take away that power from everybody else of what they may say and how that may make you feel.
Because when you accept who you are, you take that personal responsibility. Like, you know, like it's on me. Because sometimes, just being real, when you accept who you are, who you accepting or who you find, you may not like that person. You know, and I think a lot of times when people do find that person or do that, like they do that self-reflection, and they don't like who they are, it doesn't match who, like Pervis said, I think, you know, who they think they should be.
Yeah.
And they like resort back to who they think they should be, and they live in this fantasy world. And it's hard to, and then at that point, you're not really living life. You know what I mean? Like you're just living in a false reality.
And that's the undercurrent of it. The underpinning is, I don't like myself. And so it's hard for people to just say that. Mm-hmm. And so it's easy to just pretend to be somebody else, to be who you think everybody would like, instead of being who you really are. And that, again, that's the problem. Like, who told you that you weren't good enough? Why don't you like yourself? And it goes back to, you know what I mean?
All the way back.
It goes all the way back. And
that's something that I say, like when I was looking at myself, I had to, and I started to write things down that I didn't necessarily like about myself. And it kind of made me feel bad. At first I was like, why am I doing this? You know what I mean? But then I was like, yo, I love myself enough to acknowledge the things I don't like. And I think that when I said that statement, it was so empowering for me personally. Because it's like, I love myself enough to really pay attention to what I don't like.
But let me ask you a question, Jake, because you're looking at yourself through your lens, right? So there are things that you may not like about yourself that if you were to share that list with some people, they might show you where those things about you are key to how you interact with other people. Mm-hmm. So I think sometimes we're a little bit too critical of ourselves, not realizing that something that we may not like is exactly what other people love about us.
Well, that's usually how it is. But, you know, usually things that we don't like about ourselves is because we think it's supposed to be another way. Mm-hmm. Right. Instead of embracing that it could be our unique way, our unique spin on it. We look and see other people. So like, if I like the way my homeboy works a room in terms of like networking, I may not like the way that I network, or I may not like the way that I present myself in those settings. But people could say, man, I love the way that you present it. But it's like I'm looking at somebody else and I have admiration for that version of it, but not realizing that just because there's a version of that doesn't mean that my version is equally as good.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like we think that there's one way.
Yep.
To be.
Right. And that's,
go ahead.
But like I think that's key. It goes back to, you know, so is a man thinketh, so is he. Because all of it came to thought.
Yeah.
And like Shakespeare said, nothing is neither good nor bad, but thinking makes it so. So what we are telling ourselves about ourselves, or even about others, how we compare ourselves, that's what it all boils down to.
But what you just said is
self-image piece.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
And how we talk about self-image is a lot of different things I've read and heard and been part of for the last few years is really, when you talk about self-image, and I thought it was kind of a unique way to portray it. How do you, when the positive outweighs the negative? Because negative is going to flow naturally, just like weeds growing in the garden, in the yard somewhere. You don't throw down weed seeds; they grow in places where you don't even think they're going to grow. So like all the different things in the rest of your life, everything that happens day in, day out. But as you go through and you actually feed the positive in, and you can outweigh that positive of the negative, that's when that positive self-image starts occurring. So if it's family, if it's something you talk about working the room, if you talk about, these are the negative things, we're planting seeds in ourselves, and they're growing in our minds, they're growing in our thoughts. So as we keep on continue with that, until we can outweigh those with the positive stuff, that negative self-image, even if it's 51% to 49, the ratio is still on the side of that negative seed. And then we got to start feeding into that positive stuff to get the positive to outweigh the negative. Mm-hmm. If we can do that, we're unstoppable, man.
Right. And I want to talk about the root cause that BJ and Jay hit on, and I don't want to just pass by it. which as human beings, we have this tendency to compare. We always want to compare ourselves to everybody else or somebody else.
Right.
And I guess my question is, how do we get over that need to compare to validate who we are?
I think comparison is always going to be there. I think that's just a human thing, but I think it goes back to you with the acceptance piece, embracing and loving who you are and learning to like who you are. And so like what Jeremiah said, which was dope, like I love myself, but I didn't like certain things about myself. So living in a space where you have a healthy relationship with yourself, I think that minimizes it. Like I'm not beating myself up because I like the way my boy works the room and I don't.
Mm-hmm.
What I have to do is say, but the way Pervis does it is good for Pervis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's about shifting and reorienting my mind around it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna go with the shifting piece. Like I agree 100%. A comparison is always gonna be there. It's just it's who we are as human beings. But changing your perspective on it, like okay, comparing, well, he does it better than me, or comparing it, okay, how can I do it better? Not necessarily saying for better than him, but better for me. Like instead of looking at it in a sense, it's not a competition. Like the way he does it is not necessarily diminishing the way I do it, but it's shining light in areas where I can improve. And when you compare in that sense, then everybody wins.
Or even just saying like, yo, I really like the way he does that. Let it be that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
True. Definitely.
Yeah, I think it's a constant struggle too, because there's times where you look at others and what they're doing, and you're trying to see what you can take from what they're doing to improve yourself. And I think trying to not lose yourself in taking those things that other people do to build yourself, becoming who they are. You got to take their best practices and adapt it for you. But you got to have a clear understanding of who you are to know if it fits, how you're going to do it your way. And ultimately, everybody ends up in the same place. You got to be happy. You got to be peaceful. So however you determine that is on you.
And then also, too, to add on to what you just said, is like, you have to come from a place of authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know. I have no idea if my friend in this example that we're talking about, if he has anxiety and he's like putting on his best performance, and that could be the reason why it's so like popping out to me. But I'm literally coming from a place of peace inwardly, and I'm being my most authentic self. So it's like, even with comparison, that's like a trick. You know what I mean? Because you don't know, you really don't know what that person is going through. You don't know if that person has accepted themselves the way that you have. And so like, it's, as long as you are coming from a place of authenticity within you, and the only way you can be authentic is to know who you really are and to accept who you really are.
Yeah, and I think it's understanding how much of a mind state it is as well. You know, happiness is what you make of it. There are people who are always in worse situations than you are going through that are able to, you know, still put on their shoes in the morning, put on their pants and you know, handle business. That is about being able to understand, putting yourself in that mind state, understanding that even when things are not going the way that you necessarily expect them to, that there's still a progress, a lesson, or something that's putting you in that same position of being and affirming who you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And what I want to do, I want to give the listeners, the viewers, some key maybe that we can share to accepting who you are. And I'll start it off. And I think one of the first things you have to do is you have to know and accept that not everybody is going to like you. And you're not necessarily, who you are does not have to be for everybody. And that's one of the things that you have to be okay with. When it comes to accepting who you are, you have to accept that not everybody's going to like who you are, but not everybody's meant to like who you are. So, you know, that's okay. And that criticism, there's always going to be a critic. Yep. Always. And a lot of times the most influential critics are the people closest to us. So it's your mother, it's your father, it's, you know, your girlfriend, you know, your boy, somebody close to you makes you kind of question yourself and if you're doing what's right. And again, going back to one, defining who you are, and then two, accepting who you are, being comfortable and loving yourself the way that you are. Anybody have any other points.
I'd add be honest. I think you have to truly be honest with self-reflection. I think you have to be honest to where when you tell people who you are and what you're about, that honesty comes through to where it's not, being rude, but I could really give a care less what you think. Like, this is who I am, this is how I am, this is how I'm gonna be. And if you don't like it, oh well. And that honesty portrays itself to where it's genuine and people respect it, regardless if they agree or disagree. They respect you as to who you are, and then they'll adjust themselves accordingly.
I would say ask. Ask those people. I know to kind of do the flip of what Mike just said. Ask the people that are closest to you. Who have I been? Who have you seen me to be over the past few years, over X amount of years? And just take their input and drop the guards. Don't ask anybody. Ask with those people that genuinely care about you, who are shown consistent, that have compassion and want to see what's best for you. Because those people are watching you in a way that you aren't watching yourself, and they genuinely want what's best for you. So they'll be real and tell you, you slipping in this area, or you're phenomenal in this area. And both of them it's great knowledge for what they are. So just drop the guards.
Yeah, Jay, when I see you, man, I see pride, I see power.
Carol, can you repeat the question? What's the advice?
Yeah, the question was, what are some things that we can give people to help them
who are struggling with this?
Yeah, some breadcrumbs.
Yep.
Okay. I would say, the first two things is like taking ownership of all of who you are, right? Number one, taking ownership and acknowledging that there's some things that that you may not like and that have not worked, and some things that need to improve. But then also to give yourself grace in that process, because accepting who you are is, as we all know, because we all had to accept ourselves at a certain point, it is a process. It is not, and if you look at it as this huge undertaking, it's going to be insurmountable to you, and you're going to be hard on yourself. You're going to beat yourself up because you're not at the place you think you should be. So give yourself grace within that process. Be easy with yourself, because you've been living a certain way and just not realizing, I haven't been living my most authentic self. And so it took you that long to realize that. It may take you that long to get to the place you need to get to. So you need to be gracious towards yourself.
Mm-hmm. I think mine would be that you need to have patience and understand that the process is not a cold turkey process. That because you started to have that realization, that desire, and you know where you want to be and what you want to be, understand that it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. It's okay to learn to love the process of, finding yourself and understanding that it's an ever-growing process.
Like you might have a lapse and you go back to who you used to be.
And people don't like process. We don't like process. We like instantaneous.
Oh yeah.
We like microwave.
We are right now society, and that's one of the biggest downfalls of especially the younger generation, is them feeling that, success comes in a year. What do you mean I'm not, the CEO of a company? And it's sometimes you have to learn, and get involved so that you can really see the true process of really where business is going, as opposed to what you've learned in books. One of the biggest failures people have is thinking that what they learned in the classroom just automatically applies to real life. And 9 times out of 10, that's not true.
It doesn't.
You have to be able to understand the set nuances of certain industries, how you handle business, that allow you to be able to be successful in business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, process is countercultural, man. It's very countercultural.
Yeah. I'm gonna tap BJ real quick, because when you said about textbook, what you learn in school may not necessarily be applicable in the real world, he made a face, and I know it's probably something that he sees on a daily basis with teachers and administrators, that they learn certain things and then they go in and think, oh, I'm going to be the best teacher ever. Go ahead, BJ, share your thoughts.
Unmute yourself first.
You muted me.
I'll call for a minute ago. I want to make sure I didn't get on. So when I was looking at it, I'm listening to you, and I'm saying that that's exactly what happened, and that's one of the biggest downfalls of the public education system today. We're still teaching kids to be thinkers of the industrial age, and not the information age. And put that in perspective, when you talk about the teachers and then the administrators that are supposed to be perfecting their craft in order to bring this generation into the current age, we're stuck in old practices. So part of the thing, it all fits together what we're talking about, because one of the things I wanted to add to the question that you previously asked was about compartmentalizing everything that we do. We have a tendency, especially as men, we compartmentalize things and kind of think inside a box a lot of times. But all this stuff we do is interconnected.
Absolutely.
And there's certain things that are going to cross over. So when you're talking about being the best you can, or knowing thyself or whatever, realizing that this may be the best me in this situation, but as working in the field of education, but when it comes to that as a father or as a confidant for a friend, that may be something totally different. Yeah. But go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, as humans, I think we do what comes easy. You know, like the compartmentalizing. If it's easier to be a teacher than it is a father, then I'm gonna try my best to excel as a teacher. But we don't overflow or even equate how is being a father and teacher synonymous in our lives.
Right? Yeah, and the same energy it took for you to be a great teacher is the same energy it'll take for you to be a great father.
Exactly. So
and vice versa, as a father, there's a certain nurturing talent that you have to have that applies to the classroom. And it also applies to the corporate room, which that's our problem right now. When we talk about there's a millennial problem, there ain't really a millennial problem. There is a problem with managing people from the millennial area or teaching from the millennial area. Yes. Because they seem to be more in tune with who they are, and we don't know how to adjust and adapt to that.
And then also too, I would add that they're not afraid to fail at presenting who they are. Right. I mean, like they're not afraid to put themselves out there.
They'll be a lot more authentic because I think that being so involved and entrenched in like social media and in technology, they have to consistently, even though there is the mixture of, falsely putting yourself out there. I think that, you have that circle of people who kind of understand that you start to develop that a little bit earlier. That's what allows them to go ahead and have that, hey, I don't care about being honest and truthful with who I am. And if you guys aren't going to accept it, I'm going to move on. And it is what it is.
And part of it is the evolution. I'm going to go back to the classroom example, the teacher example we talked about a second ago, that a lot of times is that in education, we forget who our clients are. Our clients at the end of the day is those students that sit in front of the teachers. It's not the unions, it's not the teachers, it's not the principals, it's the client. The end client is the student that's in from that first grader, that kindergartner, that 12th grader, the students in front of them. And at the end of the day, how are we preparing them to be successful adults later on down the line? And if we're not challenging them to get out of that comfort zone, to get out of the never-ending cycle of everything, of preparing them to just be test takers, just be this, just be that, then what do we expect them to become when they're adults?
And DJ, you said that in education, but I think it's in the corporate environment. It's in the real working world environment.
Yeah, it continues.
We forget as a boss, as an employer, who my customer is. It is not that person that I'm providing the service to, because most of the time I'm not on that front line doing it. It is the person that works for me that's doing it. So they have customers. The customers are the people that I employ. And I don't realize that I owe it to them to help develop them into the best person that they can be in my organization.
I think it gets down to adults just getting so caught up in the outside stuff that you forget the reality and the real reason for why we do what we do. You talk about like your customers, BJ talked about the kids, and working kind of with community. One of the things that I remember from executive director was he said if the adults would get out the way, the kids would be fine. I think drill that piece down. It's the adults getting involved in adult stuff. So I've been in teachers' lounges where the teachers are having conversations that have nothing to do with the kids. But that carries over into the classroom, and as it carries over in the classroom, then the kids like the teacher don't like me, and it's something that has nothing to do with anything. It's a family history. It's a teacher that's not just, comfortable with who they are. It's a person that's going into work, dealing with stuff from the weekend, plays out, and it never gets back to what it's supposed to.
And that's what I was going to say, what you just said, Mike. Like, you're dealing with a lot of teachers who themselves are not actualized, who don't know who they are, who haven't accepted themselves. And so like that becomes, and that tends to be the problem. So when I go into corporate settings and I do trainings on stuff like this, it usually comes down, a fish sticks from the head down. So it's like usually the people who are in charge, they themselves, they know how to lead per se, but they don't know how to be an actual human being. They don't know how to be an approachable person. And so that goes back to their own narrative as to where they didn't accept themselves in some area of their lives, and it trickles down. And so it becomes this world that we live in where we're dealing with a lot of people who have not accepted themselves. We're dealing with veneers. So like it's when you really think about it, it's really like a really huge issue. I don't think that many people have accepted themselves truly.
Yeah. And what you just said about them not allow themselves to be human beings, that they're leading but they're not being humans. I think that when you accept yourself, and something that you said in the past podcast, Pervis, you said make yourself tangible as a human being. And when you accept yourself, I think that's what you do. Like you make yourself tangible, like you can be touched, and that's scary for a lot of people.
Because that's vulnerability.
Yes, and that's what it comes. That's exactly like showing your faults, showing who you are. You open yourself up to anything, praise, but also criticism.
Yeah,
exactly. And when you make yourself, you can be touched. That's one of the scariest things, but it's also empowering.
And to tie this all together, Pervis, there was a couple things that we've said, and one was you said it starts from the people at the top, and a lot of the people at the top, they faked it until they made it. Yeah,
and they still faking.
And
so they don't know how to survive.
As you said, they don't know at what point they started faking it, and because they're so far lost now, you don't know how to teach somebody else to become what you are, because you don't even know what you are yourself. Yeah. So it's just a never-ending cycle. And look, we don't just do it in business; we do it in relationships.
Absolutely,
we do it at home. I mean, it's just a cycle that finding who you are and loving that person, accepting that person, would absolutely change the whole outlook of how we interact and what we do on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely, man. It's a freedom. Like I was meeting with a young man today who has he has a tech company that's about to come out, and what he's doing is crazy. But I was telling him, he was sharing with me that he's had issues with anxiety, and I said to him, what happens when we have anxiety and we don't accept ourselves, we create a chasm between you and yourself. You know how they say me, myself, and I? But you and yourself are two different people. And when you're not accepting yourself, there's a chasm, and anything can fall in that space. Think about it. So it's like you're not even like that space. Anxiety can fall in there, mental health issues. So many things can come into that place when you're not in possession and alignment with who you are. Mm-hmm. And so it is vital to your health, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, that you get into a place where you can accept who you are, because it will be to your detriment if you don't.
Wow, that was powerful. I think we're going to end the session right there.
God.
We're going to end that right there. And we're going to invite everyone.
Drop that mic again.
Yep, drop that mic again.
That's why you back for a second time, Pervis.
That's why you're back for a second time. So we're going to invite everyone to jump in on the series. If you didn't see part one, go see part one, and definitely share both part one and part two. Again, part one, defining who you are, and then today is accepting who you are. We want you to share that, and tune in next week for presenting who you are, is the topic next week. And Pervis, we didn't set it up this way, but if you want to come back next week, you're more than welcome.
I would love to.
So yeah, we'll definitely set that up. And fellas, we still got the rest of the show to go. So Pervis, we'd love for you to stick around.
Yes.
Speaking of who we are and accepting who you are, we are definitely Miami Hurricane fans, alumni. And we had a game this past weekend. Jay, your team had a game too, Wisconsin. Shout out to number 72.
Come on, Wisconsin.
Fellas, what you think about the game?
Yeah, that's a little question.
Wow, silence.
I'll go first. I mean, look,
It was tough
It's-
to watch, but
You said it was fun to watch?
it was tough
Tough.
to watch.
Tough.
tough to
Oh.
watch. But I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again. They've way more than exceeded my expectations for this season. That, you know, hey, a loss sucks. Don't get it wrong. But at the same time, man, the high I've been riding this season, none of those losses, Pittsburgh even, it doesn't affect me at all. You know, we had a great year. We are the U is back. We are on the up and up. The fact that I can say that and feel that in my soul and not just be talking to, you know, an FSU fan to talk some crap, that, you know, that I really feel, understand. And not only do I feel and understand that, but they feel and understand that too. That, you know, that heartbeat is back. We are, you know, back on that uphill climb, and it feels good, man. It's great to be back. I'm not worried about that. And we going to see them Badgers in the bowl.
They don't.
Yeah, we're gonna see Wisconsin. We're playing Wisconsin.
Yeah,
When's the last time that we
Dizzle.
won championship?
McGahee, way back in.
Yeah, is that 01, 02? What is it?
2001. All right, it's when I was there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought so.
We all
Yeah.
were there,
Fred.
except for
We
Hayes.
were there.
I've been talking to number 72, and he already told me that it don't look pretty for y'all.
Man,
I'm about to see right now if there even is a 72.
Number 72.
Probably the one missing player.
Hey,
No.
you just needed Wisconsin to do one thing. That was beat Ohio State. That's it. That's all you got to do.
But Kay, to kind of tie it back, if you go back to last week, knowing yourself, this week accepting yourself, it's like we know the University of Miami. We know the U as back in the day when we were in school. And I think they're missing over these 16 years up until this year to give Ian that faith that he just spoke about, was the fact that we saw something in this young team. And what I'm excited about is that we're a young team and we did it this year. So we have the potential in the and then the next year's recruiting class. If y'all can keep it up with what's going on right now with the recruiting, it's going to be one of the top recruiting classes in the nation right now.
Right, and we had one of the top recruiting classes this year.
Correct.
What creates a legacy and continues a dynasty is being able to keep that momentum and that thunder going. People, at the end of the day, we were broken up because of everything that was put on top of us with all the sanctions, the potential sanctions and everything, you know, with our NCAA issues. That now that we are back on that momentum, now that we have that coach who is you know, really in line with what we want the program to be and represent, and you see and feel how everybody is coming back together. Again, we've talked about how the Orange Bowl, we haven't ever, well, look at this, I'm calling it the Orange Bowl. That you know, going to the stadium, it was never, there was never any year that we have been at that stadium that was like this year. Ever. Nothing close. Nothing remotely like this year. We probably had more people consistently at UM games than at Dolphin games.
I can definitely say that the fact that the U came back caused Jimbo Fisher to say, "Peace out, I'm going to Texas."
Right. I don't want nothing to do with what's coming.
Yeah, because
Think about it.
Yeah, this whole recruitment process of what I got to compete with, they're back. I'm not dealing with the UMFSU every year. I'm out of here.
He rode the years of winning very wisely, and now he just hit that Homer Simpson.
I want to talk about the bigger impact that maybe everybody outside of us doesn't really see, and that's we've never turned our back on our alma mater. However, our pulse got so much stronger this year, and it wasn't just about the games at the stadium. All across the country, you see so many cane watches. You see so many people traveling to watch the games. I mean, it has really revitalized just our excitement and our
The alumni.
I agree with that. Like even just the awareness that I've seen just like online. Like it's like all through my timeline, I see everybody talking about the U. And even when I tell people where I went to undergrad, it's like, oh my God, like it's like a conversation starter. Like, like there is an excitement, and it's like in the ethos about it. Like it's crazy.
Anywhere you go, in town, out of town, around town, downtown, if you have on some hurricane stuff,
you get stopped.
We're gonna, at a minimum, gonna give you that look like, you know.
That's how it was.
And we are everywhere. Like if I have on UM stuff, I can be somewhere and somebody will stop me. Cocaine's. And I'm just like, oh shoot, okay, wow, you know.
That's how it was going when we were traveling with the wife. Every airport that we went into, people asking like, "What's the score for the game tonight? Who you know down there? Can you make a phone call? I need to figure out what I'm doing."
That's funny.
Been going to class. Who ain't been going to class? Who's starting? Who ain't starting? Got money on the game.
Hey, listen, it's great to be back to.
It's great to be a Miami Hurricane.
And speaking of growing and finding who you are fresh, what's on that fresh jam this week?
This week, you know, I thought we'd be remiss not to go ahead and celebrate, you know, I feel that he is one of our, you know,
icons. Black
leader. You know, he's a black icon. He's a black leader right now. I've been very impressed with, you know, Jay-Z's maturation progress and especially in this last album, how he's been able to, you know, do a lot of the things that we're talking about directly on this show, you know, being so
self-acceptance,
being able to, you know, put so much on the table and do it in a way that, you know, myself as a grown man can still listen to, feel the emotion, but it's still a great album.
You can be a grown man. You don't have to be this.
Yeah,
you don't have to be a trap music man.
And with that said, while I'm not playing something off of the new album, all of that was said to, you know, today is December 4th, which is Sean Carter, aka Jay-Z's birthday. So I thought I'd go ahead and make the Fresh Jam a Jay-Z song, but I'm gonna take it all the way back to where it first started. Well, it kind of first started, if y'all remember.
Why and Sophie?
What you got off of that Reasonable Doubt?
Reasonable Doubt.
So you already know, but I'm gonna put a little twist on it. And so, yes, off Reasonable Doubt, I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and just hear how we come in. Y'all should know the song, but we all vibe.
I'm making short-term goals when the weather falls. Like the firm, you get down for life to try. You better learn not play with fire.
All right, Fresh.
I know we gone. I'm sorry, man. We paying homage to you, brother. Please don't hit us with that tax.
Listen, did you guys saw his New York Times interview?
Yes, that was great.
That was very pertinent to what we were talking about as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Very true.
Even on the 444 little snippets and interviews.
Yeah,
man.
all of those. Yep.
But he's Jay-Z's very tangible right now.
He is reinventing himself.
Back in there.
I've never seen Jay this like open ever.
Yeah, but
I think it's evolution.
It's part of him accepting who he is.
Yeah, it's part of him accepting who he is. Never seen him. While you've always felt that he's so comfortable in his own skin, like seeing him now, you really see like a real comfort over him. Like before, you could kind of tell it was, yo, I got to be Jay-Z. And now it's like, I'm Sean Carter, man. It doesn't matter.
He's
like,
Sean
I'm
Carter
just,
all the time,
he's
man.
like, he's like, yo, I'm gonna be who I am. I've done what I've done. You can't argue the fact of what the legacy I've left on, you know, the culture of America, on history, life, period. So I can be me.
But I think the thing that's gonna be even more powerful than that is for men, like he's making it safe and comfortable for men to go to therapy and to get help. And 100%. I think that's the bigger impact. And so like the impact of like what he's done for the culture is great, but what he's doing for humans lives,
not just
relationships,
going
marriage.
not just going to counseling, but the fact that he's able, look, thinking that being a womanizer is the way to go, I was wrong. Like I'm letting you know I was dead wrong. I can't believe it. Showing that, man, I was begging her, please call me back. Like
cried,
to be able to lay that down on a record that is a time capsule of now that forever will be, available. That's huge.
Hey, that baby work on you. You had them kids that caused you to be completely. You got to go through a whole lot of introspection. He had a girl first. Like you start thinking of everything that you did, and you realize,
wow, some dude would do that to her.
Right. It's like a snap. Like
man,
but then also too, you just realize like what you doing is not working.
Yeah.
Like he was with B, cheating on her, doing all this stuff like that, and then he had to come to his own revelation.
I said, do not embarrass me, not will you be mine. That was his way of saying, hey, let's go steady. Will you be my girlfriend? Was don't embarrass me. Right. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
I tell you, I'm really excited for what I think will be the real best of both worlds, and that's what they should name that album if they do that collab album together.
They already have it. He said that they have all types of music that they started recording, and then that's what spawned Lemonade. Was she wound up being more advanced and pushed out into her own thing. That's what got Lemonade, and then he kept the momentum. And then 444 was when he woke up and had the first, like, that song was created then, and then it just propelled the rest of the album.
So let me ask this question: who you think eventually over time will be more powerful as a couple? Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats, or Beyonce and Jay-Z?
Is that even that's not even
question? A question? Why is that even a question?
That is there.
No. The reason why that's a very good question because
why you say that's not?
No, it's a very good question because they're doing things. Alicia and Swizz are doing things in the art world, and they're doing things behind the scenes that a lot of people don't know about.
Right.
So that, like,
wow,
and Swizz just graduated from Harvard. Like, they're doing some things that a lot of people don't know about.
They are doing some amazingly philanthropic adventures. What is it? No Commission. That's the name of his traveling, art showcase, which is, amazing. However, Jay-Z and Beyonce do a lot of philanthropic stuff, and they're still
that nobody knows
dramatically in the public. Yeah, they do a lot of stuff that you don't know about. They do a lot of stuff that you do know about. They're in the public eye, and they are consistently.
I think they've got too much of a head start.
A head start.
No, they do. But I'm just saying, like, if you. I think he asked a great question because I think we're equating like who's public, who sells more records, who's the more popular one.
I'm taking the whole package, baby. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what mark they will leave on this, what they will be able to leave as their legacy total, not just, hey, I know, look, I love Swiss Beats and Alicia Keys, they are royalty. However, Jay-Z and Beyonce are like king and queen. It's hard to compare.
I'm not sure.
What Jay has done for music.
Name 3 songs off Alicia Keys' last album.
From East to West Coast. It's just
name
crazy.
3 songs off Alicia Keys' last album. And tell me you can't name almost 99.9% of all the songs off of freaking Lemonade.
But I think that's because of who Beyonce is. Like, people don't look at Beyonce. I will say this in a general sense. People don't look at Beyonce.
When Alicia Keys and Beyonce were
right, but people got to Beyonce because of Beyonce's attraction. Alicia Keys wasn't like that. Like,
what?
Alicia Keys,
are you crazy?
It's not.
Raise your hand if you didn't have a crush on Alicia Keys, please.
Alicia Keys, she
even
managed to.
Yes, but you don't.
In the proactive commercials.
I agree, but you don't hear a general man like, "Ooh, look at Alicia Keys." Like
I don't know who you was hanging around. Everybody I knew was on.
I think Alicia
Keys got 3/4 of her body covered up.
I think Alicia lost her stamina. 1, musically, but also 2, I think it was a lot of drama with her marrying Swizz.
I think that whole, not only her marrying Swizz, but then Swizz took over her management as well. Yeah. He took over all of her production, which is not that Swizz isn't amazing, iconic. But
not for her.
But it's not that it's not for her. It's not a consistent push on her that it's hey, you could throw a song or 2 on the album, but the whole thing to sound like that New York, boom bap when hey, we need her to diversify. She's R&B.
She was
out there, but then it was he again, I love Swiss Beats, but it definitely hindered her growth because, like I said, she was Alicia Keys and Beyonce. You talk about early 2000.
Would you say?
And she sold more records than B at one point.
100%, definitely.
Would anybody say that this topic grinds their gears? Yeah,
no way.
Because this goes into Art's corner. Yeah.
Easy.
I vote Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats. That's just me.
That you think that they will leave a stronger legacy over time.
I view it this way. I think that Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats are like the mom and dad African king and queen on Coming to America, and Jay-Z and Beyonce are Eddie Murphy and the New Girl. Like, wow, they have been there. Like Swiss Beats and Jay started together.
What?
So like the whole Swiss, like Alicia came before Beyonce. I think Alicia Keys was.
What are you talking about?
What history are this is something you found on Wikipedia?
No, Beyonce.
These are not facts.
Beyonce was with Destiny's Child when she came out. Like,
okay. Yes, okay.
Yeah. And Alicia Keys was Alicia Keys.
But you do realize that Alicia Keys didn't come out like with Destiny's Child, right?
She came out before, didn't she?
No. She came out way after. She pretty much came out when Beyonce was becoming Beyonce only and not Destiny's Child member Beyonce.
She came out before Beyonce came out.
Jay, you can come off mute and participate in this conversation.
She can't.
We trying to continue our time period.
It's not, I mean, no, definitely Alicia Keys was not, she wasn't out before Beyonce. I know that. I mean, I'm not like heavy into it, but that's why I'm kind of reserved, but she wasn't.
Alicia was out before Beyonce was a solo artist.
A solo artist.
That's what I mean.
Okay.
Hold on.
So Alicia was.
I think Alicia was like 2001.
And Beyonce came out.
But for real, Beyonce was Beyonce in Destiny's Child. She stood out from the group. Like, she was never really like, and I think that's why she went solo.
But she was associated with the group. She was associated with and people like Beyonce for Beyonce.
2001, right?
2001.
It wasn't her singing that people were drawn to. People was drawn to, ooh, look at Beyonce.
But Beyonce was a total package, though.
Hold on.
Alicia the total package.
Well, no, Beyonce was a performer. You know what I mean?
Beyonce is a better vocal artist than Alicia Keys is.
Oh, yes, but Alicia is a better musician.
Beyonce cannot sing better than Alicia Keys.
Yeah,
you crazy.
Yeah, you're bugging about that.
She can.
No, she's like an opera singer. Where do you get off of Wikipedia, man? Go back to your encyclopedias.
Hey, I'm on the headphones.
I don't know, man.
The thing about
Beyonce is better vocally than
Alicia Keys. Like, Alicia Keys, she was billed as like she was the writer, producer, songwriter. Like that's what her thing was. Like she wrote and produced all her songs, and
yeah, Beyonce didn't come out till 2003.
Exactly, because I was at Def Jam.
I just feel like
let me tell y'all a quick story. I was working at Def Jam, and we were about to release Ashanti's Chapter 2 album. And I remember in this marketing meeting, I was just like, I'm not the biggest Beyonce fan, but I knew Beyonce was gonna blow, right? I knew it was gonna blow out the water. And I said to them, I was like, Beyonce's coming out. They're like, nah, Ashanti sold 5 million records. I was like, Beyonce's coming out. And I remember going to the computer and I was like, look at this album cover. Remember Beyonce's album cover with the diamond? I was like, she's going to win. She's going to win. And they hated me at Def Jam because I was never a team player. I was like, yo, but this is what I was on.
You wouldn't drink the Kool-Aid.
I was like, I would drink the Kool-Aid. I was like, this chick is about to blow. And then I remember when she performed "Crazy in Love" for the first time on the BET Awards, and she had all the girls lined up going, oh. I was like, that's
what I'm saying. Like, I feel like Beyonce is such an icon that like any song she puts out, it's like instantaneously the female national anthem. Like I don't care what song it is.
But I don't think that. But it's not that they're not great songs like that. It's not like she's a
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you joining us on the 13th floor, where the furniture isn't always the best, but the views are amazing. We're gonna continue this conversation offline.
Alicia,
for the outtakes.
Alicia,
next week.
And Rough Riders.
Get off the Wikipedia, y'all. Go back to Encyclopedia Britannica.
Ashanti got better vocals than
40
Beyonce any day though.
What?
Are you serious?
No, just like
Oh, I was like, bro.
He's gonna say, what you got on screen, man?
Now is your time to flank.